Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Tristan Kumar proudly presents the one, the only Dying Planet, Prison of the Survivors. Narrated by the one, the only Tristan Kumar. Part 15. Something Sinister. Sylvie came back into the room. I looked at her. "We have a sponsor," she said. "Yes," I said. I went to my bed and pulled out the blueprint from room 303. I unraveled it and it showed a metal tesseract design. Finally, it was time. Inside the tesseract, there was a red energy cube. It was said to destroy, create, or power anything. I went outside and Sylvie followed. We went to the nearest store and grabbed many metal pipes. We also grabbed many layers of bulletproof glass, just in case the power got uncontrollable, and some wires. We bought the items and went to a welding shop. I set down the pipes while Sylvie started to build a bulletproof layer. I cut the pipes in half and welded them together to make a cube. I made a slot inside the cube for the power source. I made the slots for the wires and fed them through the holes. I finally connected them to the bigger cables on the outside. Meanwhile, Sylvie handed me the bulletproof outer layer and I slid it on. I squeezed the ends together and welded them shut. Now, it was compact. We paid for our time at the workshop and went back to our hotel. Once inside, we gently put it in the core. Once it slid in, I used pliers to connect the wires to it and we sealed the top. The tesseract was now complete. We looked at each other, smiling. We had just discovered a new form of technology, perhaps, and it might have been the most powerful form ever created. Once night fell, I went to a casino again to meet the same person. I hesitated before I went in and sighed. I walked away. I went to a gun store and bought a gun just in case things got bloody. I came back in and sneaked in the gun. I walked to the back, and instead of going up the elevator, I went into the changing lounge. I got into a pitch black suit with a black shirt and tie and all. I walked outside the changing booth as I buttoned my sleeve button. I ran my fingers through my long hair, tidying it up. Once done, I walked into the elevator. The elevator started to rise, and I took a deep breath as we arrived on the eating floor. This time, there were more people like the other one who I had talked to. They were all eating, and the place was filled with them. I walked to the man at the window, and he turned to look at me. He smoked a puff. "Ah, you're back. I see we caught the people responsible." "Stop this. Who are these people?" I said to him. "These are my comrades, man. Don't think that they're bad. They helped me get them to pay," he said, as they continued to talk to each other. "Cool, whatever. I need to talk to you alone," I demanded, but he raised his hand. They all stood up and left the room, so it was only me and him. "Look at this," I said as I pulled out a paper I found on the street while getting the materials. The paper said, "Wanted. Group of thieves accused of murder, wanted dead. Reward, $14,500. He smoked more and looked at me dead in the eye. "You're accusing me because I look sketchy?" he said, reaching behind him to probably pull out something soon. "No, I'm just saying that if the cops get a lead on you, you're finished. I'm just here to say that I can't do business with you anymore," I said. "What?" He coughed on his smoke. "You can't just do that," he said as he stood up. I backed away. "Look, I'm not saying that you did do it, but if you did, then I don't want to get involved," I said, backing myself up. "You're accusing me. Oh, I knew it, and that's it. This tyranny is ended," he yelled as he pulled out a knife. He lunged forward to attack me, but I dodged out of the way. "Stop! I'm not saying anything," I said as he swiped again. "Don't try to defend yourself, Rye, you scoundrel," he said through smoky air. He spat out his cigar and continued to swipe at me. "Fine then," he said. He put away his knife and started to punch me. I fell to the ground from the sudden attack. "I don't want to hurt you." The tension got higher as he kicked me again, but I shot up. "Fight me, you coward!" he yelled as I dived. I fell to the ground, exhausted, but he held me down. He started to beat my face. Blood started to appear everywhere. Then he started to choke me. I desperately gasped for air, and I reached behind him and quickly grabbed his knife. I yelled, "Stop!" I yelled right in his face, and I stabbed him right in the rib. I pulled my legs up to my chest while he stumbled backward and kicked him straight in the face. He flew back to the ground. I ran up to him, but he was gone. I looked around as I heard his echo laughing. It almost seemed like he was invisible, hunting me down like a lion. I wiped off blood off my suit as he jumped down from a table and got me in a chokehold. I wobbled around, but I couldn't see anything. He snatched the knife from my hand and inserted it into my shoulder. Blood started to stream out rapidly. I screamed as he continued to stab me. I flipped him over and he landed on his back. He screamed, and we both stood up. I put my arm against the pillar to support the unbalanced weight of my falling as he spat out blood. "Just kill me, fool!" he yelled as he charged at me. I rolled out of the way as he dived headfirst into the pillar. Part of the pillar got smashed off as he hit it. I stood on top of the table and smashed the glasses. He jumped onto another table. I picked up a chair and heaved it at him, but he simply moved out of the way quickly. He ran toward me and tackled me onto the ground. I crashed through a table, and he started to punch my face again. "You've treated me like dirt," he yelled. Another punch. "Like a creature." Another punch. "An animal." Another one. "There's no reason to keep you alive any longer," he yelled, but I put my hand out and caught his strong punch. I yelled and struggled under the weight of his metal arm, but slowly started to push it back to him. I rolled out of the way and let the hand go. It crashed through the ground, and he struggled to rip it out. I stood up and walked away from him, coughing blood. Quickly, I ran towards him and grabbed his arm and tore it off. The electricity and blood spurted everywhere as he screamed. The light slowly dimmed as the arm fell apart. He held his bleeding shoulder and ran to the window. I grabbed the knife and grabbed him by the collar. I held the knife to his throat and gritted my teeth, but instead, he smiled. "What are you waiting for? Do it! Or are you not the killer? That's right. You're nobody!" He screamed in my sweaty face as he laughed. He shook and laughed so hard that I was so mad at him that I struck the final crushing blow into his heart. The blood went onto my hand like a waterfall. I let go of him and dropped the knife, shocked by the anger that had overcome me. He was still coughing and laughing. He stood up to the window and punched it with his good hand. The window broke and the wind came rushing in. "Stop!" I yelled at him, but it was too late. He continued to laugh, gasping for more and more air. He pulled something out of his pocket and pulled the pin. He threw a grenade in front of me and laughed hysterically as the ticks of the grenade began. I picked it up and threw it at him, but realized what I had done too late. The grenade exploded and he flew out the window. I shot my arm out, trying to reach and save him, but he was long gone. He had a crazed smile on his face as he fell. He fell in the night sky and the lights of the casino before he hit a car and slid onto the road, a bloody, gory mess. But his face was still there, scarred and bloody, barely visible through all that what had been through. His jacket was coated in mine and his blood, and his arm lay still. His blood was streaked along the road, and all the cars stopped. He turned around to look up. He jerked one last time and went limp. Everybody around him came to see what happened. Some called the police quickly, while others looked up and saw me. I quickly stepped away from the window, hiding from view, but it was too late. I had killed a man. Helicopters started to appear in the sky, surrounding me. Suddenly, the elevator went off, and all the bad people came in and shot me with their guns after seeing what had happened. One hit me in the shoulder and the leg, and I fell behind a table, squirming in pain. The cops came into the room, and they both had a big shootout. Eventually, the cops won by killing or arresting every single one of them. They found my bloody body and picked me up onto my feet. "Sir, you're under arrest," one person yelled in my face. "Stop. Wait. I didn't mean it. Let me go," I said, trying to resist the arrest, but one injected a needle into my neck and I fell over. I blacked out. I woke up in a cell. I had scratches and bruises all over my body, some which had been tended to. I limped out of my bed and looked around. The halls were empty and dark. I looked at the clock. 5:59 a.m. The clock struck 6 and the lights went on. There was a buzzing sound and my cell opened. I walked out and looked around. There was nobody else in the place. I walked out into the hall. I looked at the ground and arrows were pointing to my left. I followed it out to the door. I arrived in the cafeteria. I looked at the sign and it read, ADX Florence. Somehow I was back in Colorado, in the most secure prison in America. More people came into the room and sat down. It seemed that I wasn't the only one here after all. I went to where the people were and got in line behind them. I got my food and sat down. I ate my food and now I can meet someone who came to see me. I went to the prisoner meeting area and sat down. I pulled off the phone and tiredly said, "Yes, Rye." It was Sylvie. "That's me," I said as I looked at her. "What on earth did you do?" she asked me. "I guess you could say I had some loose ends I had to tie up," I replied. "All right, I'm going to get you out of here. So, if I could," she said, starting to stand up. "No, wait," I stopped her. She turned back around. "What? Don't you want to get out of there?" "Not yet. I need to think about what I've done," I said as I stood up and walked to the door. "What about our ideas?" she asked. Exactly. I need to think, I said as I walked out. Since I was just a teenager in the most secure prison in the world, the guards let me go to a library and choose one book for a night. I chose a book titled A Collection of Poems from the Early 21st Century. I grabbed it and headed to my cell. I set the book down and laid myself down. I had to think. What could I make from the Tesseract? I laid down for a few minutes, then turned to the book I had grabbed. I picked it up. There were many miscellaneous authors credited. I flipped to the first page and I read the prologue. The poems were meant to be an exercise where the authors were given 3 words and an emotion and had to make a story out of it. The words at the top of the page were bolded. Poem, chair, gym, sad. And I swept my eyes to the poem. Take My Chair by Eric Schoss. 2 brothers sat on chairs. They were drinking and eating some pears. I rolled my eyes, but I continued. When all of a sudden, the brothers' chairs had broken, and he had fallen. Oh no, he cried, and he sat thinking why. The other brother said, Here, take my chair. The little one got up and sat down again, the older brother thinking where to begin. Some other years later, the boys started to grow, and the older one was saying that he had to go to a place called college where he would call home. To say goodbye, the other bro thought, to take little bro to a gym for a nice little jog. After a great workout time, the brothers sat down, all sweaty and tired, but the little bro's chair had broken once again, so older brother helped. Here, take my chair. They walked back home again, and the other left, but the little brother never even forgot him for a cent. 20 years later, the little one was on a bridge. He was all grown up now, but feeling a singe of pain and suffering. So then he thought he'd end his life, for there was nothing left to be bought. He stepped off of the bridge and fell to his demise, and in heaven he met his older brother in the night. Hello, what happened? He asked his little brother. I died, he said. There was nowhere left to go. Well, it's okay now. There's nothing to do. Let's just sit down and talk about you. The holy gates of heaven had opened up wide, so they joined hand in hand and explored the inside. They found 2 chairs and both sat down, but the little one's chair broke. He was on the ground. But right before the big brother could help him by sharing, the little one stood up and smiled. You've done enough caring. They both stood up happily and hugged each other at last, and the gates of heaven closed. There was no more left to ask. I finished reading the poem and set the book down. I guess it was a nice way to spend the time, but now I had to have a deeper realization. If one person had done so much for the community, when would it be enough? I sat in my bed, thinking hard about the question in my mind. But I wanted some rest before the big day tomorrow, so I laid down my head and closed my eyes. This episode was recorded by Tristan Kumar. If you enjoyed this, then make sure to check out the next part, which is going to be part of Act 4, which that is called Chimera. And that will cover parts 16 through 20, and that will conclude Dying Planet, the Prison of the Survivors. If you enjoyed this, make sure to check out the next part. Thank you for listening.